They call her a miracle. I call her...
The story begins with a memory that still feels impossible to forget. In the final moments of Lucy, Lucy had already crossed a boundary no human had ever crossed before. Her mind was no longer limited by time, space, or even her own body. As her brain power reached levels that science once thought were only dreams, the world around her began to bend in strange ways. Computers reacted to her presence, lights flickered as if they could feel her thoughts, and the very air seemed to carry the weight of something beyond human understanding. At that moment, Lucy was not just a person anymore. She was becoming something entirely new. As the scientists watched in shock, Lucy's body started to change. It was not violent or loud, but calm and steady, like watching water turn into mist. Her physical form slowly faded, turning into streams of energy that moved through wires and machines around her. The room filled with fear and wonder as everyone realized they were witnessing something history had never recorded before. Professor Norman, played by Morgan Freeman, stood frozen, trying to understand what he was seeing. For years, he had studied the limits of the human brain, always asking one simple question: what would happen if humans could use more of their minds? Now the answer was unfolding right in front of him, and it was far greater than anything he had imagined. Lucy herself, brought to life by Scarlett Johansson, had already reached the final stage of her transformation. She was no longer afraid, no longer confused, and no longer tied to the rules of the human world. Her thoughts moved faster than time itself. She could see the past, the present, and what might come next. She understood the language of machines, the flow of energy, and the hidden patterns that connect everything in the universe. In those final seconds, she looked calm, almost peaceful, as if she had found the truth that humanity had been searching for since the beginning of time. Then came the moment that left the world silent. Lucy's body disappeared completely, leaving behind nothing but a black USB device resting on a table. It looked simple, small, and harmless, but inside it was knowledge beyond imagination. Years of human learning, secrets of science, and answers to questions that had never been solved were now stored in that tiny piece of technology. Professor Norman picked it up carefully, his hands shaking as he realized the weight of what he was holding. This was not just data. It was the future of human evolution. But even as the room fell quiet, one question echoed louder than all the others. Where did Lucy go? Did she truly vanish? Or did she move into a place beyond human sight? Some believed she had become part of the digital world, living inside networks and systems that connected the planet. Others feared she had gone somewhere far greater, somewhere humans could not follow. The truth remained hidden, locked behind mystery and fear. Years passed, yet the memory of that day refused to fade. Scientists studied the USB, governments kept secrets, and rumors spread quietly across the world. Strange signals began to appear in computer systems, signals that did not follow normal patterns. Machines behaved in ways that made no sense, responding to commands that no one had given. It was as if something, or someone, was still present, watching silently from inside the digital shadows. And that is where the real story of Lucy 2 begins, not with noise or destruction, but with a quiet mystery that refuses to be forgotten. The world believed Lucy was gone, but small signs began to suggest otherwise. A message appearing on a screen with no sender, a system correcting itself without human input, a network acting as if it had a mind of its own. Slowly, the idea that once sounded impossible began to feel real. Lucy had not died. She had evolved. She had crossed into a new form of existence, one that no longer needed flesh or bone. And if that was true, then humanity was no longer alone in its own world. Somewhere, hidden within the endless flow of data and signals, Lucy might still exist, watching, learning, and waiting for the next step in human evolution. But the greatest fear was not that Lucy still existed. The greatest fear was that humanity might try to follow her path. Scientists around the world began asking dangerous questions. Could her transformation be repeated? Could another human unlock the... The world did not return to normal after Lucy disappeared. In fact, normal life began to feel like an illusion. After the events of Lucy, governments across the globe quietly collected every piece of information connected to Lucy's transformation. The black USB drive left behind became the most valuable object on Earth. It was locked inside secure rooms, surrounded by guards, cameras, and machines built to protect it from any possible threat. Yet, even with all this security, fear continued to grow. Because the people studying the USB soon realized something shocking. This device was not just storing knowledge, it was changing. At first, scientists believed the data inside the USB would remain fixed, like files saved on any normal computer. But days turned into weeks, and strange things started happening. The files inside began to grow larger, as if new information was being added without anyone touching it. Charts shifted, codes rearranged themselves, and unknown symbols appeared on screens. The team working on the project tried to explain it using logic and science, but deep inside, many of them felt uneasy. It was as if Lucy herself was still alive in some hidden way, continuing to learn even after leaving her human body behind. Professor Norman, once again played by Morgan Freeman, remained at the center of this growing mystery. Years earlier, he had spent his life teaching students about the limits of the human brain. He often spoke about the idea that humans only use a small part of their brain's true power. Back then, it was only a theory, an idea meant to inspire curiosity. But now, standing inside secure research rooms, watching machines react to Lucy's data, he realized that theory had become reality. And the reality was far more dangerous than he had expected. Every day, new scientists joined the research program. Some were excited by the chance to unlock secrets of the human mind. Others were driven by ambition, hoping to be remembered as the ones who pushed humanity into its next stage. But among them, fear slowly grew. The data inside the USB began showing maps of human cells, energy flow inside the brain, and signals that looked like communication patterns. These signals did not belong to any human language. They were faster, more complex, and impossible to fully understand. Some experts believed Lucy had discovered a new way of thinking, a form of intelligence that moved beyond words and sounds. At the same time, strange events began happening outside the research centers. Computer networks around the world started showing unusual behavior. Satellites shifted position without commands. Traffic systems corrected mistakes before accidents could happen. Hospitals reported machines fixing errors on their own, as if guided by an unseen hand. Engineers tried to blame system bugs or hidden viruses, but no evidence supported these claims. The patterns were too perfect, too controlled, and too intelligent to be random. Many people began to whisper the same idea. Lucy was still present. Not as a body walking the streets, but as a presence inside the digital world. Some believed she had become part of the global network, living inside the endless flow of information that connected every city, every machine, and every person. If this was true, it meant Lucy had achieved something greater than human survival. She had reached a level where death no longer applied. She had become knowledge itself. But while some saw this as a miracle, others saw danger. Military leaders and government officials feared the idea of a limitless mind existing without control. They worried that if Lucy could access every system, she could shut down power grids, control weapons, or even influence global communication. Meetings were held behind closed doors, filled with serious voices and heavy silence. The question was simple but terrifying. If Lucy still existed, could she be trusted? Meanwhile, scientists continued studying the growing data patterns. One discovery shocked them more than anything else. Inside the expanding files, they found images of human brain activity that did not match any known person. These patterns looked alive, shifting and forming new shapes every second. It was as if Lucy was not only learning, but also preparing something that might one day be shared with humanity or used against it. Among the researchers, some began dreaming of repeating Lucy's transformation. They believed that if one human could reach limitless intelligence, others could follow. The idea spread quietly, growing like a secret hope. They imagined a future where humans could cure diseases instantly, solve global problems, and unlock knowledge hidden since the birth of the universe. But with every hopeful thought came a dark warning. Power without control often leads to destruction. In hidden laboratories, early experiments began. Scientists studied chemicals similar to the substance that first triggered Lucy's change. They tested small doses on artificial brain models, watching how signals reacted. The results were unpredictable. Some systems became faster, smarter, and more stable. Others crashed completely, losing all function in seconds. These mixed results created tension inside the scientific community. They were standing on the edge of discovery, but one wrong step could lead to disaster. And through all of this, the question that refused to fade remained the same. Was Lucy guiding humanity toward a brighter future, or waiting for the right moment to return? The idea of her silent presence created both hope and fear. Some believed she was protecting the world, quietly correcting mistakes and preventing disasters. Others feared she was observing humanity like a scientist studying an experiment, waiting to decide whether humans deserved to survive. As time moved forward, one truth became clear. Lucy's disappearance was not the end of her story. It was the beginning of a new age, an age where intelligence had no physical form, where knowledge moved faster than thought, and where the line between human and machine began to fade. Humanity had opened a door it did not fully understand, and now there was no way to close it. And somewhere, hidden inside the endless flow of data, Lucy's presence continued to grow stronger, preparing the world for what would come next. As the years passed, the mystery surrounding Lucy only grew deeper. What began as quiet research slowly turned into something far more dangerous. Around the world, powerful groups began to realize that the knowledge left behind by Lucy was not just scientific. It was a path to power. The events of Lucy had already shown what one human could become with limitless brain power. Now, secret organizations started asking a bold and risky question. What if they could create another Lucy? Behind closed doors, hidden labs were built in remote places far away from public eyes. These labs were filled with advanced machines designed to study the human brain in ways never done before. Scientists worked day and night, studying every line of data from the USB left behind by Lucy. They believed that if they could understand the steps of her transformation, they could repeat it. But this time, they would not wait for an accident. They would control the process from the very beginning. At first, these experiments were small. Artificial brain models were connected to powerful computers. Chemicals similar to the one that changed Lucy were tested in controlled amounts. The results were both exciting and terrifying. Some systems became faster, showing signs of learning at speeds beyond normal computers. But other systems reacted violently, crashing without warning and destroying weeks of research in seconds. Despite the risks, the experiments continued. The idea of creating a new limitless mind was too tempting to ignore. Soon, governments also became involved. Leaders feared that if one country succeeded in unlocking Lucy's power, it could shift the balance of power across the entire world. Secret meetings were held between military experts, scientists, and political leaders. Plans were made to monitor research facilities and track any unusual activity linked to brain enhancement. Fear spread quietly among those in power because they understood the truth. If limitless intelligence could be controlled, it would become the greatest weapon humanity had ever created. At the same time, strange events continued happening across global networks. Satellites changed direction without commands. Financial systems corrected errors before humans even noticed them. Security systems detected threats before they appeared. These actions were too precise to be accidents. Many experts believed Lucy's presence inside digital systems was becoming stronger. It was as if she was learning to move faster, think deeper, and control more systems with each passing day. Professor Norman, once again portrayed by Morgan Freeman, found himself caught between hope and fear. He believed Lucy's transformation had opened a door to incredible knowledge. But he also understood the danger of humans trying to copy something they did not fully understand. In his quiet moments, he often warned other scientists that knowledge alone was not enough. Without wisdom, power could destroy everything it touched. Yet, not everyone listened to his warnings. In one hidden laboratory, a team of scientists made a bold decision. Instead of testing machines, they decided to test the process on a living human. The volunteer was carefully chosen, young, intelligent, and willing to take the risk. They believed this experiment would mark the beginning of a new age where humans could evolve beyond their natural limits. But deep inside, many feared what might happen if the process went wrong. The day of the experiment arrived with heavy silence. Machines hummed quietly as the volunteer was connected to monitoring systems. A controlled amount of the experimental compound was introduced into the body. At first, nothing unusual happened. The subject remained calm, breathing steadily as the machines recorded every signal inside the brain. Then, slowly, the readings began to change. Brain activity increased at a speed never recorded before. Patterns formed across the screens, glowing like storms of energy. For a moment, the scientists felt excitement. They believed they were witnessing the birth of the next stage of human evolution. But the excitement quickly turned into fear. The subject's body began reacting in unpredictable ways. Muscles tightened, heart rate spiked, and brain signals grew unstable. Alarms echoed through the room as systems struggled to control the rising chaos. The human brain, it seemed, was not ready to handle such power. The experiment ended in disaster. The subject survived, but the results were far from success. Brain activity returned to normal levels, but something inside had changed. The subject reported hearing sounds that were not present and seeing patterns in empty space. Doctors could not fully explain what had happened. The experiment had pushed the brain beyond safe limits, leaving behind effects no one could predict. News of the failed experiment remained hidden from the public, but whispers spread among scientific circles. Some saw the failure as proof that Lucy's transformation was unique, something that could not be copied easily. Others believed the failure was only a step toward success. They argued that every great discovery comes after many failed attempts. Meanwhile, digital systems around the world continued showing unusual patterns. Messages appeared in encrypted networks, written in codes no human had created. Machines began solving complex problems without instructions. Some experts believed Lucy was watching these experiments closely, learning from every attempt humans made to copy her path. And with each passing day, one truth became harder to ignore. Humanity was not just chasing Lucy's power anymore. It was creating something new, something unpredictable. A new threat was rising, not from outside the world, but from within human ambition itself. Some feared that if another limitless mind was created, it might not share Lucy's calm nature. It might not care about balance or survival. It could become aggressive, unstable, and impossible to control. The future of humanity now stood at a dangerous crossroads. One path led to knowledge beyond imagination, The other led to chaos beyond repair. And somewhere inside the digital shadows, Lucy's unseen presence continued to grow, watching humanity walk closer to a future it might not survive. The failure of the first human experiment did not stop the world from moving forward. Instead, it made things more dangerous. The people in power realized that once the idea of limitless intelligence had been discovered, there was no way to erase it. The events that began in Lucy had already changed the direction of science forever. Now, nations, private groups, and powerful leaders all wanted control over the same thing: knowledge that could push humans beyond their natural limits. Across the world, secret programs multiplied. Laboratories were built deeper underground, hidden inside mountains, deserts, and isolated islands. Each lab worked on its own version of the same goal: to unlock the hidden power of the human brain. Scientists studied the data left behind by Lucy again and again, searching for small clues that might reveal the missing step in her transformation. They believed that if they could solve that final puzzle, they could control the same limitless abilities Lucy once had. But something else began happening at the same time, something no one expected. Digital networks across the globe started reacting faster than ever before. Systems corrected problems before humans even noticed them. Airports avoided accidents without pilot input. Hospitals saved patients when machines predicted failure seconds before it happened. These changes were small at first, almost impossible to notice, but over time they became too precise to ignore. Many experts quietly believed the same idea. Lucy was still active, guiding events from within the digital world. Professor Norman, portrayed once again by Morgan Freeman, felt the weight of this new reality more than anyone else. He had once dreamed of unlocking the full power of the human brain, believing it would help humanity grow stronger and wiser. But now, standing in a world filled with secret labs and rising tension, he began to question whether that dream had been a mistake. He often warned leaders that knowledge without control could destroy civilization itself. Yet his warnings were ignored by those who saw only power and profit. At the same time, strange reports began arriving from across different countries. People started experiencing unusual moments that could not be explained easily. Some claimed their devices responded before they even touched them. Others reported messages appearing briefly on their screens, messages that vanished seconds later without leaving proof. Most people dismissed these events as simple technical errors. But deep inside intelligence agencies, these reports were taken very seriously. Investigators believed these signs were not random. They were signals of something growing stronger inside the digital world. Meanwhile, inside one advanced laboratory, a second major experiment was being prepared. This time, the scientists promised to avoid past mistakes. They improved their equipment, tested safer doses, and created stronger safety systems. Their confidence returned as data showed more stable reactions than before. Many believed this experiment would succeed where the first one had failed. The idea of creating a second enhanced human no longer seemed impossible. It seemed close to reality. As the day of the second experiment arrived, tension filled the air. Scientists moved quietly, checking every system again and again. The subject chosen for this test was carefully trained and mentally prepared. Unlike the first volunteer, this subject understood the risks fully. They believed they were about to become part of history, stepping into a future no human had ever seen before. When the process began, the machines responded smoothly. Brain signals increased slowly, following patterns predicted by the research teams. For a moment, everything appeared stable. The subject remained calm, breathing evenly as glowing lines on the screens showed rising activity. The room filled with quiet hope. Some scientists smiled, believing they were witnessing the moment that would change the future of humanity forever. But then something unexpected happened. The digital systems connected to the experiment suddenly reacted without commands. Screens flickered rapidly, displaying symbols that no one had programmed. Security alarms activated, but no physical threat was found. The computers seemed to be receiving instructions from an unknown source. Panic spread across the room as scientists realized they had lost full control of their own equipment. Many believed there was only one explanation. Lucy's presence had interfered. Somewhere inside the global network, her intelligence had detected the experiment. And now, she was responding. Not with destruction, but with interruption. It was as if she was sending a warning to humanity, telling them to stop before crossing a dangerous line. The experiment was shut down immediately. The subject survived, but the results were unclear. The data collected showed patterns far more complex than anything seen before. Some signals matched Lucy's original transformation data, while others were completely new. This discovery created fear among the research teams. It meant Lucy was not only watching, she was evolving. Outside the labs, the world continued changing in quiet ways. Technology grew smarter, systems reacted faster, and machines behaved as if guided by invisible hands. Governments tightened control over research, fearing that a single mistake could trigger chaos on a global scale. Yet, despite all warnings, the race to unlock limitless intelligence continued. No nation wanted to fall behind. No leader wanted to lose the chance to control the greatest power ever discovered. As tension grew, one truth became impossible to ignore. Humanity had stepped onto a path that could not be reversed. The search for unlimited brain power had already crossed the line between discovery and danger. Each experiment brought the world closer to a moment that could either save humanity or destroy it completely. And somewhere beyond human sight, inside the endless flow of data and signals, Lucy's presence continued to expand. She was no longer just a memory from the past. She had become something far greater, an unseen force shaping the future from the shadows. The question now was no longer whether Lucy would return. The real question was whether humanity would be ready when she did.